So you're just thinking, hey, let me do notes because because I want cash flow that's easier and it's not cash intensive, and you're not going to get the surprises unless you have a default scenario, which is
Which
you
it
want to
might,
avoid.
yeah, I'd rather avoid. I mean, at the end, down the road a bit, if I have one that's a little iffier and it ends up in a foreclosure, or I end up taking ownership of the property, if I've done the homework properly, I know how to manage a residential property, and I could.
Absolutely. Okay, a quick question. And so I mostly got everything. Did I miss any key points?
I don't think so.
Okay, great. So do you have bank financing on all of your rentals? Just
I do have financing on all of them at the
okay.
point.
Well, what sort of equity position do you have in general? I'm trying to, and don't answer if it's too personal.
No. It's actually it's about 46% loan to value at this point across the portfolio.
So one of the things that I believe that Denise needs to pay attention to is depending on the interest rates on the property she's holding.
Right.
And so if you got one with a high interest rate, that might be the one to get to sell, as opposed to something that's like a 3% interest.
Right.
I mean, those are like gold now, at least.
The highest interest I have on any of my any of my investment properties is 5.25.
So I have a question on the origination, because we are considering selling a property and holding the paper.
Yeah.
What kind of an interest rate can you get if you've got a qualified buyer who maybe would rather go get an institutional loan, but you'd like to carry the paper?
Then so then you have to be competitive. There has to be a great reason for you've got to do as good or better than the bank, right?
Well, they would like us because it's in a flood zone. They wouldn't have to have the flood insurance. But anyway, so we just have to kind of look what the market bears and what that particular.
Well, yeah, and it's just in generalities. There's always a million and one. You guys know this. You've been around this game for listening to people for a long time. There's a million and one ways to put a deal together and to think about it based upon what's your personal situation, what are your goals, what's your risk profile. I'm sure that you've checked with your accountant and you know what your tax consequences would be of a cash sale versus an installment sale versus whatever else you might do. Right. So those are big parts of the conversation. But in general, it's like what you agree to, what both parties agree to, and the better the terms, the better your price that you'll get. Of course, no terms are good enough if the payments don't come in, you don't have the return that you wanted. So the safety is a really big part of that, right? And then knowing if anything went weird, how do you and you or your heirs had to sell the note, how do you position that to get the most that you need to if you ever needed to shake liquidity out of it, just. So there's various things that I would put in, even if you don't plan to, let's say, is a consumer type loan or business? Is it a primary residence person?
Yes.
Yeah. So then the way that you set it up will be different, but I would say you could at least put in times where you have the right to renegotiate the terms. What if prices went, you want to charge more? What if now, I don't know. There's times where you could ask for additional pay down of principal, or you could, create opportunities for you to say, hey, every 5 years, we're going to look at the rate and see what's prevailing rates and what's going on. I don't know. There's just different things you could think about, but.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, but, if you have to start with for what someone can afford,
I like that idea.
and then you reverse.
a different length term too, right? You don't necessarily have to do a 30-year loan just because that's.
You
what
do not. That is absolutely right. I mean, if they can afford a 20, the only thing I'm squeamish about balloons on primary residences, but if you put out a long one, you know, so I don't know, you can always put in a balloon. You're mom and pop people, right? You could put in a 5-year balloon but you don't want to be paid off, but those are points, okay, or a 10-year balloon or 15. That way you just have a point of negotiation to maximize your situation because you don't know how it's going to be 5, 10, 15 years from now, right? But if you don't care and if you don't really need the money from this, you're taking profits at a great time, deferring capital gains, having some nice income. The collateral, it's, I mean, 5%. I mean, when I'm buying, but I'm an investor, I don't pay more than 5%. But, what's the going rate, right? Is it 6 or 7% right now? 7.07? I don't know. So, and I know people that are, they will, if the borrower threatens to refinance because rates went down, they go, what would it take? Okay, we'll match it. We'll match it. We just don't want to be paid off. So it's more about capturing the equity, right? You're looking at, oh, I'm only making 5 or 6 or 7% on my money, but really because you're maximizing the price and, you're capturing a lot of equity that you wouldn't otherwise have. It's not like you're just taking money out of your savings account, right? So you're capturing equity and probably making 10, 20, 50, sometimes $100,000 more on a property, depending, by being willing to be the bank on it.